And welcome to Friday the 5th of June, and in particular our daily Facebook live stream. So today I'm coming to you from a client of ours, Duffy's Automotive in Tamworth, and delighted to be with you today. Welcome to those who have been joining us regularly over the last 12 weeks, and to those who might be new to our broadcast. So for those who don't know me, good morning. I'm Bronwyn Pearson, and I'm from Pinnacle People Solutions. Our company provides human resource services, advice, solutions, support, etc. to regionally based small to medium-sized businesses and not-for-profit organisations. And we are well and truly here to help you during what are some very challenging COVID-19 times. Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you up on the chat screen this morning, and lovely to welcome you with us this morning. So we've been live and will continue to be live at 9:15 every weekday. We've now been doing this. This is starting yesterday was our 13th week of actually providing these daily live streams, and our intention for commencing them back when COVID first hit was to be able to provide updates every 24 hours during the weekdays on new information as it relates to our employers and employees, as well as more detailed information about topics relating to staffing and business management. And those topics are being chosen from a range of different means. One is we're getting questions and suggestions from our clients and our audience. The other is topics that are coming through that we actually really think that business owners and their staff need to know about in the current climate, or certainly in the context of the current climate. So feel free to join us every weekday at 9:15. If you can't attend when it's actually happening, fear not, because they are all recorded and they will be up and available, and are up and available and archived in Facebook, on our YouTube channel, in LinkedIn, and also on our website, together with fact sheets for each of those live streams. So delighted to be coming to you and providing as much information as we can in a way that makes sense for business owners and their staff trying to navigate this really tricky time. So outside of, good morning, Glenda, lovely to see you this morning. Outside of the chat screen, of course, which feel free to throw up any questions that you have while we're on air this morning. Outside of this, you can contact myself and my splendiferous team. I'm blessed, I have to say. I've got a fantastic team. Anytime via Facebook, email, telephone, website. The details are starting to go up in the chat screen there for you, so make contact with us in whatever way, shape or form is available to you. If you'd like to have an obligation-free chat about your business and how it's faring and what things you might need to know about or do, more than happy to meet and chat with you about that. So get in touch. So the first part of our daily live streams, for those who are old hands at this now with us, is that we give a bit of a breaking news, big changes, and profile those that might have come in since we spoke last time. So yesterday, I hope you were able to join us and enjoy the wonderful presentation on recruitment from Gretel Khan, our recruitment consultant, and Gina McKenzie, our HR officer. Ladies, you did a brilliant job. Thank you so much. They're, like all of our live streams, are up, recorded and archived for you, so you can go back and have a look at that. Don't miss it. If you didn't get to it yesterday, go and have a watch. They've got some fantastic advice for you. So we need to have an update probably back to Monday, actually, because Jessica, we didn't have a live stream Tuesday. Unfortunately, Jessica's not well, but she'll be back up on Tuesday next week, God willing. So just to give you an update from since Monday, the $10,000 New South Wales state government grants for businesses affected by COVID has been extended to the 30th of June. So it had been slated to close on the 31st of May, but the state government has now extended that to the 30th of June, which is fantastic news. Please make sure to talk to your accountant or get up there and have a look at the criteria, etc. You may well be eligible. So please don't miss out on that opportunity if just by not necessarily having gone up and seen about it and talked to your accountant about it. So also what's come hot off the press in the last 24 hours is the government's announcement of the Home Builder program. Now, my understanding of that is that Australians are being offered $25,000 towards the cost of building or substantially renovating a home, and the intention of that grant is to boost the construction industry, which is, there is quite some concern that will suffer terribly, particularly more towards the end of the year when current projects are finishing up. So it's a $688 million program. The Prime Minister has called it an attempt to spark a tradie-led recovery. It's a one-off cash payment, and I'll talk about eligibility as well. So you've got to be an owner-occupier. This is not something that that investors can get. You're either got to be an owner-occupier or a first home buyer from June the 4th to the December 31st this year to be eligible. It's also means tested. So if you're a single, you can only earn up to $125,000 in the previous financial year, so that's the 18-19 financial year, and couples can earn up to $200,000 between them. You must enter into a building contract between June and December this year to either build a new home as your principal place of residence, which might be valued up to $750,000 including land, or you can look at applying for the grant in respect of a substantial renovation of your existing home as your principal place of residence. And that's for renovations valued at between $150,000 and $750,000. And the home can't be valued at more than $1.5 million before the renovations commence. The Prime Minister has also clarified Home Builder can't be used for additions that are unconnected to the principal place of residence. So swimming pools, tennis courts, spas, saunas, sheds, garages, that sort of stuff. Okay. One of the, by all means, go and have a look at that if you believe you might be eligible. The other big piece of news in the last week is National Cabinet is set to continue. So the Cabinet norms of solidarity and secrecy as they apply to the federal government and state governments will be applied to future intergovernmental meetings, and those are going to be focused well and truly on job creation. And the idea is that the National Cabinet concept, which has been in place now for the duration of COVID, will replace the Council of Australian Government, so COAG as you might know it to be. So the Prime Minister announced this at the end of last week. So this governing body composed of federal, state and territory leaders will replace COAG, and they'll be continuing to have fortnightly teleconference meetings during COVID and monthly meetings after COVID. In addition to that, at the same time, the Prime Minister announced a $131.5 billion 5-year hospital funding agreement with the states, which includes an extra $31.5 billion for public hospitals and a guarantee that no jurisdiction will be left worse off by COVID-19 spending. Interesting, big things happening at the governmental level, and certainly, dare I say it, an indication that willing participation can actually get results and get them pretty quick. We've seen more change in the last 12 weeks than we've probably seen in the last 12 years. So watch this space as things develop. So that's our update from the last sort of week, essentially. And bless my team, they've put up the details there of the Home Builder program. Really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. So our topic today is the question, what is JobMaker? So essentially the Prime Minister addressed the National Press Club in Canberra last week, and he gave a fairly lengthy address. It's about an hour long, and we'll pop up the link to the address for you, so that if you're curious, you can read the entire speech that he made the presentation that he made to the National Press Club. He has, as part of that, just to distill it down, he warned, obviously, which all of us would have an experience of already as a lived reality, I'm sure, is that the economic recovery from COVID is likely to take years. And the first step that he's outlined as far as sort of looking at that recovery is what he's calling his JobMaker plan. We've obviously, and this is where I sometimes wish they would use slightly, quite different terminology, because we've got JobSeeker, which of course is the doubling of the New Start allowance for people who are unemployed. We have JobKeeper, which we've been up here talking about a number of times and will continue to, in terms of the wage subsidy being paid to eligible employers for their eligible employees. Now we've got JobMaker. The JobMaker plan I want to outline for you today, because if they achieve anywhere near the kind of development that they've had in the last 12 weeks in consultation with business representative groups and union groups, it will be really quite remarkable. But anyway, let's talk about what this looks like and what it might impact, the impact it might have for employers and employees. So the first things I'll just cover off are the main points that the Prime Minister made when he announced this JobMaker plan to the National Press Club. So first and foremost, he made the point that opening up is going to be harder than closing down. And that is absolutely true. I can say that firsthand from the range of clients and community members, etc., that have spoken to us about how they if they can reinvigorate their business, how they're trying to pivot to keep it alive, what are the consequences going to be post JobKeeper. All of these questions are coming at us in rapid succession at the moment from a range of different organisations and industries across regional Australia. What we do know is that economic recovery from the shock of COVID is likely to take years, and trying to get the economy moving again is going to be much harder than it was, ironically, given how hard it was for a lot of businesses to just shut. What we're expecting is that unemployment and underemployment is going to continue to rise before it starts to go down again. Debt and deficits are likely to rise sharply. As costs rise, revenues fall. So that's the economic reality that we're living now. And that's not likely to get any better in the coming months. In fact, there is some concern about the cliff moment that might arise come September, October, when JobKeeper finishes, as it's slated to do in September. There's a lot of discussion around whether it's going to continue and in what form, and the fact that the reality is that it's cost half what the budget was for it to this point in time, or to that point in time. We've also got the issue of a lot of people who have paused debt repayments, mortgages, etc., which for 6 months, which will due to be taken off the foot off that particular stop come September, October. There's a lot of things that are going to converge at that period of time, and so the focus that the government is now making on trying to reset the Australian economy for growth is going to be really important. So what is JobMaker then? So what is this idea that the Prime Minister has, or this plan that the Prime Minister has? So obviously, as I mentioned before, JobSeeker and JobKeeper have been designed to provide support to Australians who can't work, haven't been able to work during COVID, or are looking for work during the pandemic. But the JobMaker plan is actually designed to boost employment on the way out of the economic crisis that the pandemic has caused and will continue to cause for a while yet. We haven't yet got, I was hoping by putting this on a week after the announcement that we would have more detail today to be able to share with you. Unfortunately, we don't have substantively more detail yet on JobMaker in terms of the minutiae, but what we do know is that the focus is certainly to enable Australian businesses to work to be able to get out of the crisis, and that means focusing on things that would help businesses to be able to go faster towards that recovery. So what the Prime Minister has indicated is that there's 2 areas that would be a focus in any job making in this JobMaker plan. First of all is a rework of industrial relations. And now, I mean, for those of us who are specialists in this area, it has been a fascinating 12 weeks to watch just how effectively industry groups, unions and the government have been able to work, and levels of government, all levels of government, have been able to work together to bring about award variations, changes to the Fair Work Act, the JobKeeper program, all of the enabling directions that have been legislated to allow for that during the course of JobKeeper, changes to the New South Wales Long Service Leave Act so that people can give notice and get long service leave much faster than would be normally legislated. There's been so much change in 12 weeks. I cannot tell, well, I can tell you because I've been up here most days trying to distill it and make sense of it for everybody. But the fact of the matter is that those parties needed to come together and get some agreement as to changes that had to happen pretty damn quickly. Essentially because Australia's current system for managing the relationships between employers and employees and employers and employees, have really been, in the trenches now for some time. A lot of employers, I'm sure, who are listening to this would agree that the current system is not fit for purpose. And certainly it's going to be very difficult to navigate given the scale of jobs challenge that we're now facing. So the intention is to essentially what has come about, I guess, as a consequence of the system as we have it, the industrial relations system as we have it, is that we've had this snail's sort of pace of employee groups looking at trying to get marginal benefits, employers trying to close down risks, and that often includes not employing people as opposed to employing them. And so what the government has announced as part of this JobMaker plan is that it intends to progress constructive meetings with employers and with unions, and that interestingly the government's proposed union busting laws, which it had put on the table before COVID, will actually be shelved. So that's meant to be a sign of good faith. And Christian Porter, the Attorney General and the Minister for Industrial Relations, is leading working group meetings between now and September with employer and union bodies. And unions and Labor have reacted quite cautiously to the news, and Sally McManus, who's the ACTU Secretary, has said that the unions would participate in the process. And there's, the idea of the concept has support. So that's one element of JobMaker. It's getting these stakeholders around the table to hopefully come up with some industrial relations reform between now and September. Very short time frame, but then again, we've seen a lot happen in 12 weeks that we didn't intend to see, or wouldn't have thought that we would have seen happen in terms of cooperation and capacity to make things change when they need to. So all of those changes that have come into awards, Fair Work Act, etc., are slated for review between June and September. And I imagine that as part of that review, that will be informed by the kind of conversations that will be going on in these meetings, work group meetings that Christian Porter has talked about. The other thing that is a key part of the JobMaker plan is the Prime Minister's announcement that the skills sector is due to be overhauled. So the skills education and training sector. He wants to try and simplify it. He's made it very clear that in his mind the current national agreement for skills and workforce development between the states and the Commonwealth is fundamentally flawed, needs to change. There's a confusing and inconsistent vocational education system in Australia, leading to too many people going to uni, even if that was not well suited to their chosen careers. So, and he's gone further to say that, that's the reason why many potential students default to the university system, even if their career would be best enhanced through vocational education. He's also seeking to see trades and skills jobs to be aspired to, not looked down on, or seen as a second best option, but it certainly is a first best option. And so he's looking to establish a national pricing scheme similar to that in the National Hospital Agreement that I mentioned in the announcements earlier. There have been 3 skills pilots in human services, digital technologies and mining that have been established, and they've been designed to give industry the opportunity to shape the training system to be more responsive to skills needs and take responsibility for qualification development. And of course, we already had announced that the National Skills Commission, which will be established next month in July, will provide detailed labour market analysis, including the skills needs for Australia. And the analysis is intended in part at least to assist students with their career and training choices. Under JobMaker, as I've outlined, there will also be changes to federal funding for skills training. Those groups that I mentioned that the Federal Attorney General Christian Porter is going to be bringing together those 5 working groups are to look at award simplification. And for those who remember this, the last time there was a major award overhaul was the modern award process, which took place in 2010 after the Fair Work Act came out in 2009. The second work group is going to be on enterprise agreement making. There's a recognition that is a very clunky process and not certainly friendly for employer and employees. Compliance and enforcement is the 4th working group, and Greenfields agreement is the 5th. Now, Greenfields agreements are those agreements that will apply to staff in a brand new venture, so a brand new organisation. The process is time bound by September. So what are we, June, July, August, September? We've got another 3 months. Past the 3 months we've already had of COVID where we've seen rapid change. So let's hope we might see some productive outcomes for business owners and their staff. So we will put up the full text of the Prime Minister's address, the detail, and I'm just looking, that's already gone up. Thank you, team, very much. And as more information about the progress of the JobMaker elements, the skills and training pilots, the 3 pilots, and what's happening with that around federal funding for skills, the National Skills Commission, etc., which gets set up next month, and the progress that we get to hear from the Attorney General, Minister for Industrial Relations, Christian Porter, in terms of these 5 working groups on the industrial relations framework will be very interesting. What it does mean though for employers and their staff is that things are going to continue to rapidly change. That, look, the reality is that we've seen so much change in the last 3 months and we cannot go back now. The kind of flexibilities that have been introduced temporarily for COVID through the industrial relations systems are things that would arguably need to continue. How that happens, what that looks like, we will keep you closely informed through these, regular live streams. So we will give you, further detail and information as and when it comes to hand. But what it will continue to mean for employers is that you're going to have to be on top of your game in terms of what you're obligated to do under employment law with your staff. There's been so much change in the last 3 months. There's going to continue to be rapid change, and either you're going to have to carve out a significant amount of your business time to get up to speed, or come and talk to us or other experts and get that advisory available to your business as and when you need it. It's going to be increasingly important. And we're already seeing a 45% increase in unfair dismissal applications and general protections issues to the Fair Work Ombudsman compared to the same time last year. So a lot of people not happy, going to be exercising their workplace rights, and you don't want to have fallen foul of what you needed to have done as an employer simply out of ignorance, because the law and the Commission won't give you a hall pass for that. So my practical realities for you today, based on where we're at and what all of this means for employers, is first and foremost to make sure you understand your obligations to your staff. If you don't, get advice to make sure that you have expertise available to you in the same way that you would have a really good tax accountant, no doubt, for your business. Make sure that you have really good HR expertise as well, and employment law clarification. Particularly make sure that you do that before you change anybody's contracts, put contracts in place, terminate anybody, discipline anybody, and make sure that you understand those obligations and that you follow an appropriate due process and you put everything in writing. The changes that have been made to the industrial instruments during COVID specifically and explicitly require you to do that, to have everything in writing. But it's a good custom and practice in any case, but you are lawfully required to in a whole range of different contexts, which we've been talking about over the last 12 weeks in a range of different live streams. So check all of your employment contracts. If you don't have them in place, get good, compliant, effective employment contracts in place. Make sure that those contracts have good termination clauses, post-employment constraints, return of property, settling debts, etc. A whole range of clauses that should be effective in there, protecting both you and your staff. Make sure that you have good relevant policy in place on performance, on conduct, on redundancy, on a whole range of different things for your business. It's incredibly important and it sets very clear guidelines and expectations for your staff. When and if you might need to deal with any of those things, you have good guidelines then in place to do so. Otherwise, you having to do it with no context in place. It's not impossible to do that, but it's going to cost you a hell of a lot more potentially, and it's much better to have those boundaries and guidelines in place. What I would also say, and I've been saying fairly consistently over this time too, is deal with any performance or conduct issues now, do so lawfully and to minimise your risk. The behaviour you walk past is the behaviour you accept. So it's incredibly important to deal with those as and when they arise. If you need some help or you just want to chew it over and see where you're at and what you might need to do, give us a call. Make sure also that you're meeting all your record keeping obligations. If you're not sure that you are, or that you're not sure you know what you should be keeping, maybe you don't know what you don't know, then get in touch with us. We've got a very effective audit tool that will not take long to go through with your business, and we can identify immediately where you're non-compliant or at significant risk. As I mentioned, have robust policy and procedure in place. You don't have to have, a tome 3 inches thick that's going to sink the Titanic. You do, however, need to have really good, simple, straightforward, easy to follow policy and procedure in place for fundamental things so that you can take action quickly and effectively when you need to in your business. If you're unsure about any or all of what I've just said, or indeed JobMaker, JobKeeper, JobSeeker, any of the JobKeeper enabling directions, what flexibility and obligations you have as an employer, as an employee, give us a call. Very happy to talk you through what that looks like for your business. Thank you so much. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us again. We really appreciate it. Highly value having you with us of a morning to participate in this with us. Like and share the links, please, with your family and friends, colleagues, etc. If you've got specific questions, you want us to help you out, contact us in whatever means is best for you in the contact details that our lovely team have put up for you. Enjoy the long weekend if you're in New South Wales and the other states that are recognising this long weekend Monday, Queen's birthday. So enjoy the extra time, which means that we'll next be up on Tuesday morning next week, where we'll be joined by our wonderful clinical psychologist Jessica, who will be talking about strategies and tips to understand and address conflict in the workplace. And we've seen quite a bit of that. People are stressed, not on their best behaviour necessarily, not sure what's happening, job insecurity, employers are beyond their scope in terms of stressed. It's likely to happen. Really good session to link into on Tuesday. So please join us then. Invite your colleagues and your friends. We'd love to see them as well. In the meantime, please hug the people that you can. Wave cheerily at those that you're not yet allowed to. Have a wonderful long weekend. Really get some R&R. That would be lovely. Travel safe for any of you who are going to be on the roads this long weekend, exploring New South Wales in the ways we've been encouraged now to do. And keep up social distancing. We want to keep this nasty at bay as much as we possibly can. So stay safe, stay distant, wash your hands, and have a great weekend, and we'll really look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Thanks so much again for joining us.